Hello, Bible Fellowship Church. Welcome you guys back to another episode of Digging Deeper. I'm here with Daniel Bagherpour, our illustrious youth pastor. So we're back on the subject of miracles, Daniel. You know, we gave a little teaser last week about miracles, and you know, I posed a question recently on Sunday. The question was this: you know, if God is in the miracle working business, how come we're not still experiencing and seeing miracles?
Yeah.
I think it's a good question.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a legit question. And, you know, if you can get past the fact that God is in the miracle working business, which that's a hurdle for some people, and just say, yeah, I believe that. And then it brings up the second question, which is, well, where are all the miracles?
Right.
And I think people have a hard time with this, especially if they've never experienced the power of God in their lives or seen or experienced miracles. You know, it's a tough one for people to sort of wrap their heads around. You know, we live in a media world where everyone's watching movies and TV, and we got superhero movies, and we got all these things going on, and you know, we got Star Wars, and we got everything, man. It's pretty fun, actually. It's pretty awesome.
It's a great time. It's a great time to be alive.
Well, yeah. And so, anyways, But, you know, God is, and I hate using this term. You guys got to go with me on this, okay? But God is really the ultimate superhero, okay? All the powers that all the superheroes have, He has.
Yeah.
Times a million.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm sure He could shapeshift if he wanted to. He could.
It's like the classic game as a kid. You're like, well, I shot you because I'm Batman. It's like, no, I shot you because I'm Superman. And you could be like, well, I'm Jesus. It's like, well,
right.
You can't trump that.
Well, there's nothing to trump
you
that.
You can't beat
right.
Jesus.
Right, yeah, he's all powerful. He's everywhere at once. He's all knowing. He's got all these things that are characteristics of who He is. And so, you know, of course He's still in the miracle working business. And so, but then the real question is where are all the miracles? You know, we were talking about this a little while ago, and I think that the short answer is we're not seeing miracles, or maybe you're not seeing miracles in your life, or you know, in your family's life, or whatever it is. And the reason is not because of God, because a lot of people want to blame God.
Right.
They're like, well, it's God's fault then that we're not seeing miracles. I mean, He's in the miracle working business. Why aren't we seeing miracles? Well, it's your fault, Lord. And you know, that's kind of I don't know. It's kind of a cheap, easy way out. You know, it's like, no, because God hasn't changed.
Yeah.
You know, the God that we serve and love hasn't changed. He's still the same. And so here we are blaming God, and He's like, hey, you guys, I haven't changed. I'm still the same God of the Bible, you know, that you're reading about as today. And
yeah, I would almost want to tell those kind of people too, it's like, well, what are you doing that's opening yourself up to receive a miracle?
Sure.
Because if you're going to play it safe all the time, right? If you've always got a nicely paid doctor at your beck and call, if you've got a perfect insurance plan, if you've got the house on the hill, if you will, like, not you live on a hill, so no offense to you, but like, you know what I mean? Like that dude in the Bible who's like got it all made, but he's like, I don't need God, right?
Right.
It's like, then you're expecting Him to do a miracle, but what if you're stepping out in faith and you're like, well, I'm gonna leave this high-paying job to become a pastor, right? Which you've done that. Or I'm going to, go be a missionary in some random country, right? We have people in our church who are doing that. It's like, now you're opened up for like, oh yeah, I clearly need God to intervene because I can't do this on my own.
Right. Yeah, I do. I think you're right about that, Daniel. We live in a time of great prosperity where people are like, yeah, I really don't need a miracle.
Yeah. It's like, I just need Netflix.
Right.
That's what they think.
Well, it's true, and I think it's true. It's sort of the problem it's a first world problem.
Yeah.
And but even first world people need miracles.
Yeah.
So if somebody ends up with heart disease, or they're in a car accident, or their loved one is diagnosed with X, Y, and Z, or they lose their job.
Yeah.
You know, every once in a while,
puts things in perspective.
Yep. Every once in a while, people in our world, and it happens more often, I think, than not, but they end up in a position where they're like, man, I'm in need of a miracle.
Right.
But where's God? How come He's not doing these miracles in my life?
That's a hard question to answer.
Well, and I think the answer to the question is really simple. I don't think the problem is with God, because He's in the miracle working business. I think the problem lies with us. And I think the closer that we get to Him, the more that we put our faith and trust in Him, and the more that we exercise that faith,
Yeah.
Because I think that is the key to miracles is belief. It's faith.
Yeah.
You know, every time Jesus healed someone, I shouldn't say every time, but the majority of times, there was always an indication of that person acting out in faith.
Yeah, he says, go now, your faith has healed you.
That's right. And there was always an action they did. Like the guy that Jesus spit in the mud and put the water on his eyes. He didn't spit in the mud, put the water on his eyes and be like, you are healed, brother. And so, no, but he said, go wash your eyes in the pool of Siloam.
Right? Yeah.
And so he had to go do something in order to get healed. It was like exercise some faith.
Yeah.
He could have just been like, what are you doing, Jesus? And pulled the mud off his eyes and been like, this is crazy.
That was not nice.
I'm going home, man. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
So he had to take that journey to the pool and wash his eyes. And
right.
It was an act of faith. The woman who touched Jesus' robe, the woman who was an act of faith. I mean, every time that there was some miracle, people had to come into a faith encounter with God.
Literally, that one dude got lowered through the roof by his best friends.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a hard miracle to get.
Yeah.
They had to go roofing.
Well,
you know?
I hope they were roofers, man. They had to do some work after that day. Like if I was the owner of that house, I'd be ticked. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'd be like, well, you got healed, but Jesus, you got to do one more miracle. You got to fix the roof. It's going to rain this week. So anyways, that's funny. But his friend's faith.
Yeah.
His friends had exercised faith and brought him in there and were like, no, you're going to go, man. And so it was a collective faith really from him and his friends.
Yeah.
But faith was always sort of the main ingredient in the recipe for the miracles.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and we'll kind of close on this thought, Daniel, but you know, God uses just ordinary people. Mm-hmm. You know, there's no extraordinary people out there that He's set aside for great miracles. He uses just ordinary people.
Right.
Some who we would maybe even consider are unqualified. Yeah. And yet His power is working in and through their lives. Mm-hmm. It's been true for me, man. Like I don't feel qualified, and and I think that's just the way that God works. He takes the simple things of the world to confound the wise. Right. The Bible says. And so this is the way that His kingdom works. It's kind of a wonderful thing. Yeah. Which basically means that you guys out there can actually be the conduits of God's mighty power.
Anybody, any of us.
That's right. It's open to all of us. And He's invited us to walk in the way that He has walked. And He's promised that we would do even greater things than Him. Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Yeah, it is.
Let's go out there. Let's take some steps of faith, Daniel.
All right.
Let's see what God's going to do, man. Yeah. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, God bless you guys. We want to encourage you guys to do the same. And make sure you guys join us on Sundays. We'd love for you to be here. You can join us on the live stream or here in person. It's always better in person, by the way. But if you can't make it, log into the live stream and worship with us that way. And so, God bless you guys. Have a wonderful week.